Are you going back and forth?
Couple days ago, I had to do some business
Were
in
you
town.
down there today?
No, I decided to stay home today and get some stuff done, so I was here for 3:30 and
Diane Iverson.
here for 5, and then head back down tonight.
You're going back?
Yep, we gotta go back tonight.
When
Yep.
did
She shows tomorrow.
I don't know what to.
8 a.m.
When,
So
when are they released?
I'm down there until next Wednesday.
24.
Yeah, so.
Hey, wanted to tell you, I thank you. I'm sincere. I really enjoyed going to that meeting with Ken Jinger.
That's good, that's good. I was
It was
upset I couldn't make it.
well, I thought it was very
Everybody I talked to said it went well.
informative.
Yeah.
And went, it was far better than I thought than I was anticipating.
Well, I'm happy to hear that.
Fireworks.
Well,
My wife is disappointed quite often. I'm glad to hear that I get you pumped up for something and you're excited.
Not necessarily what I wanted to hear,
Yeah.
but I thought the honesty.
Yeah,
of
let you know
he
where it's at.
of what he had to say, he wasn't sure. You know, he was in the Farm Bureau, well, you know, what they wanted to hear.
Yeah.
And he didn't sugarcoat
Nope.
that. I mean,
He doesn't sugarcoat it. I'm on his ag advisory committee, and he lets us know how it's gonna be.
the one thing I was disappointed in, he was a whole lot shorter, and I thought
First time you met Adam in person? Good looking guy though, isn't he? Sharp looking guy.
Is he on tape?
He is, I am exactly on tape as I'm saying this stuff.
otherwise he would have said something else.
Go ahead and call this highway committee meeting to order with roll call.
Bunting,
Present.
Grunion,
Here.
Carly, Lovell,
Here.
Weber, Weller, and Yoder.
Yes.
We have quorum, so we will move forward. We'll go ahead and approve the agenda for the August meeting.
I'll do that.
And motion by Yoder, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Lovell. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. On the back of the agenda here was the minutes from the July 12, 2018 meeting. Any additions or corrections to the minute as printed? If not, I'll entertain a motion from Runyon. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Lovell. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We've got 2 items to come before next Thursday night's county board meeting as action items. A, the agreement. Clay?
All right, this agreement is in Sunbury Road District. This is for replacement of an existing bridge that is again in our ongoing discussion about timber piling, timber planking. We have problems with both the planking and the pile, so we wanted to go ahead and replace this structure. I'm going to recommend for the committee to do this as a motion to approve at the county board meeting. The agreement is with Fair Graham. We have been doing a lot with Hampton, Lenzini, and Renwick. This one is with Fair Graham. They had done some preliminary work on this bridge to help us determine which piling was bad, and we thought we might be able to do some repair, but we were told by the state we can't use the funding we wanted to do the repairs, so we're going for the replacement instead. So I went ahead and stuck with Fair Graham, and we've come to a price that is a part of this. It's a not to exceed, and it's kind of an odd amount because it's down to a penny. Go to that on the screen.
Pull it up on the screen.
How big a bridge is this? Just gonna be a box culvert or?
No, it'll be a bridge. But, yeah, the total
40,
amount of-
what'd you say, 42 foot, 40?
It's probably gonna be between 40 and 60 feet. I know that's a big range, but I'm gonna say 45 is where I'm anticipating it'll come in. The 29,502.64 is there not to exceed. There are a couple, as usual, a few things that are cost plus type design fees that we pay outside of that. But that's the not to exceed on the main design of the bridge. So the only contention that we have is that I'm still working with the highway commissioner on some cold feet, I guess, if you will, of
Concerns.
moving forward with this project. And so I'm meeting with him next week. Told him we have until next Thursday to make a decision on passing this agreement. So there is a chance this could get stricken off of for the county board, and we'll just pull it off the agenda at that time.
What's the concerns with the highway commissioner?
The concerns are result around mostly not wanting to agree with the size that maybe has to be put in, not agreeing with, not liking the cost that it would be to replace it, and
I don't either.
um,
It is what it is.
and doesn't, just doesn't feel that it's a necessary overall cost and size of replacement, and doesn't agree with the methods that the state requires us to go through.
His concerns are, he thinks that a couple culverts would be sufficient enough to take care of it, which is
Yeah.
not the case.
The problem that we run into is that we have to go through and size these hydraulically to make sure the opening is there. We have already estimated that this bridge is probably gonna be a little over 200 square feet of opening. That's pretty preliminary, may not be the final design, but we're not usually too far off. A couple hundred feet is pretty hard to achieve with pipe culverts.
Right.
A 10-foot diameter pipe has a square foot opening of 78 square feet. So it would take 3 10-foot diameter pipes to be the same size as what's required. Well, the motor fuel tax doesn't allow us to do anything than what the minimum design criteria are, which is this 200 square feet of opening. So we can't use motor fuel, we wouldn't be able to participate in any programs. And typically, we've always taken the approach at the county that if it's not sized according to what this office says needs to be, based on those design criteria, the county doesn't participate. So he'd be all on his own with the pipes.
And he knows that.
He knows that.
He
10
has
foot-
no choice.
He has no choice, and that's what he's mad about and frustrated with, because he really has no choice. And I understand that. I mean,
Have him talk to John Delheimer.
Well, his choice would be just close the road.
Well, that's the next step. There's already 3 or 4 bad pile on this bridge, and as soon as they get one that's adjacent to those pile, then they'll close the bridge. It's down to a 12-ton posting, I believe, on this one. So it will effectively close the bridge. And it's a bridge that he personally uses quite a bit as well, so we know that he wants to keep it open.
As Clay and I have talked, we believe this road commissioner will come around to it, but it is to the point now to where he has to have something in writing to Clay by next Thursday, because we can't approve of something at the full board without his seal of approval.
I think you
So,
ought to have it by Wednesday, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm meeting with him Tuesday for another matter on the road that he had that blew up, that they sued Prairie for the bad rock. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I do.
He was at one of our meetings. And
He
he
should
did
have
get
you
a
an answer
settlement.
by then,
He
hopefully.
did get a settlement on that.
What
but we're-
township is this?
This is Sunbury. And the other thing too.
Ron Davis.
The other thing too, and I'll just show you this real quick. I zoomed into another area, but let's go to that bridge.
I was gonna say, it's not by Charlotte. I was just saying, where's the 2800 north?
So this is the bridge. It is a pretty small existing structure. It will get bigger, but it's over 20 feet now, because it wouldn't qualify as a structure if not. But if you look at,
Where does that water drain to?
this is the Katydid Blacktop.
Yeah,
So it's immediately upstream from this bridge. And this structure.
So water's going that way?
Yes. This structure is approximately,
I think we said 70 feet on the phone, did we not?
yeah, but I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, but it's the river is at that angle there, the creek. or
So
whatever it is,
it's
so-
about 60, so I was off there, Jason, I apologize. But yeah, this is, and they have more stringent requirements than we do, so I know it's gonna be close to this size. You know, that's why I said 45 is what I'm kinda thinking this thing will land for us. But for him to say pipes, when immediately upstream we have a bridge from the state system.
yeah, that's gonna dump right there, right to them pipes within a matter of not many feet.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why I don't know what else to tell him. other than-
I understand his concern. Sunbury Township does not have a very high EVA, so, I mean, they are
They struggle.
they are strapped for
Yeah.
cash. It's gonna be a fairly expensive bridge. I get it where he's coming from, but we cannot.
Well, no, he
in
can't,
in good faith.
He can't
do
jump
this.
off the bandwagon, or
Well,
it's not gonna benefit him.
Well, this is a contract that we're essentially signing with Fairgrounds, so I don't wanna go back on that afterwards and cancel after it's awarded through the county board. So I would really like to have the decision made, and I will ask Ron to go ahead and sign a road improvement statement that commits his funding.
How does that work? Does he have to sign off on a piece of paper for the county aid to bridge fund, or is that just something that he controls?
He petitioned the county to start with for a repair on this bridge. The repair, typically the way we have handled that is if we go from a repair to a replacement, we don't come back before the county board and ask you for another petition. We just go ahead and say, well, it turned into more, we need to replace it, we're gonna go ahead and do that. Usually don't have any problems with that from the highway commissioners. So he could technically challenge that. That's why I'm not gonna hold him to this at this point. This engineering agreement is where we start having money in it. And that is also being taken before the county board for full vote. And so that's why I said I wanna know before we do that. So I'll have him sign the road improvement statement, which commits the township then to the funding. And I'll suggest that he uses motor fuel tax, because he does have a reasonable amount of motor fuel tax that comes in every year. It's around $90,000. And this isn't until 2021,
yeah.
as far as when it's gonna get built. So the full commitment on his part, which is around $50,000,
Would be
the township
covered,
would be covered easily by his motor fuel tax amount. And
But
then-
if we go through the motor fuel tax, then we won't have to continue to go back to him.
Correct.
We can just take the money out of motor fuel tax, and we won't have to have this discussion with him again, instead of having to come back every time and asking for money through local.
Right.
If we go through the MFT, then we won't have to worry about it.
Right.
Well, that's probably what runs through the township is motor fuel tax.
Yeah.
It does mostly. He doesn't take a lot of local tax
Yeah,
in,
yeah.
and that's part of the
That's why he hates to lose that.
And he also has a lot of aggregate roads. I mean, he's not very plentiful on the oil and chip, so.
What would the, well, is it $500,000 ballpark?
250,000 total project, or bridge cost, construction is what we're estimating at.
50,000 roughly will be his cost.
So what, I don't know a lot about this stuff, so why is it $30,000 to design this? I mean, that seems like a lot of money to me, 30 grand. I mean, is that by the hour, or is it a percentage of the total cost? Is
It's
it,
a part of this. They do show you what the rates are. They also show you what their estimated number of hours are going to be in each phase of the project. So the survey, for the hydraulic portion of it, the roadway, this is a preliminary bridge design and hydraulic report. We'll have 32 hours. So there's all of your costs per type of activity that the consultant will have on the job. I did have discussion about this with them, and the number did come down. It was higher, and so the 29,000, and this is about what we're paying from HLR as well. You can't bid out professional services, it's in the statutes. So you have to go off of existing relationships, and you can talk to them.
you
but
can't bid out?
You can't bid.
That just sounds,
No, you can't do it. It's part of the act that is in the statutes, so.
You can't do it if you're gonna use that money.
It's not allowed. I mean, I'm sure Lena's had this discussion too, like for architectural, professional services are not allowed to be bid. You can do a request for proposal on, but you're still supposed to do it based on qualification-based selection. So you have to ask for a company's qualifications and what they're able to do, which there are several. There are a lot of companies that could do the design.
Sure.
And then you evaluate which company you want to go with, but you, at that time, you're still not supposed to be asking for a price. You're just choosing the company.
okay,
And the long and the short of it, you don't want to bid to the cheapest person who can engineer a bridge then, so you wanna make sure that,
well, if they have the qualifications, and if they have a reputation, I mean, it's not like they're gonna call me and have me design a bridge, they're gonna call, there's only so many people, so many engineering firms that can design a bridge. I realize this is all a moot point, discussing this, because you can't do it, so,
Right.
But it just seems, I just wanna know.
Sure. And I don't have it right here, John, but I can look up that statute and send it to
Oh,
you.
no, that's
if you want
okay,
to.
that's okay, I have enough to read.
I have this discussion quite often with other
Well,
supervisors of
about-
townships.
As long as you're talking about that, you put up other 60-foot bridges, right?
Mhm.
Quite a few.
Mhm.
Okay, why couldn't you, why can't you just go
Can I-
back?
Can I say that I know where you're going with this?
Yeah, and
I
just
know
use
where you're
those,
going with this.
and use those same specs and not go through an engineering.
Yeah, but the same question gets asked, that's exactly what Ron was asking too, he said, well, you guys could do it, and there's a good chance that, yeah, we probably could do it, but we're not allowed to do it,
Not licensed.
there's a structural engineering act that requires a set of plans to be sealed.
That was a good, that was, they were good lobbyists, weren't they?
Oh, yeah,
Licensed-
They got that in.
Licensed structural engineer has to seal the structure portion of the plans. And so without that seal, you can't go forward on the bridge design, because it has to be approved by the bridge office down in Springfield, and that's what they'll approve it based
And
on.
they've done hundreds of these, and they can just go back in their records and see what they.
Of course they can.
Well, and I will say there is some individual things, it's not just that seal that we're paying for. I mean, these guys are gonna go through and they're gonna do a survey of the entire site, upstream, downstream, they'll do the hydraulic opening, they'll run it through a computer model that is, what's called HEC-RAS, and that model will give them 30, 40 pages worth of output that actually shows the flow through this bridge by the time that we're done. And then they'll come up with a size and an opening, and then after they're done with that, they come up with what structure type you want to use, and then they go through their design.
Do they do like a soil,
Yes.
where you don't wanna put a bridge and then all of a sudden have the sides start crumbling in on the end, and then we should have built the bridge a little bit longer?
There's some of that, more of it is around the piling that supports the bridge, is why we do a soil. We go,
Soil type.
we drill and bore a hole about 60 to 100 feet in the ground, and then we find out what soils are in that hole, that extraction, and then you're able to determine how long of pile that you're gonna have to drive in order to support the bridge. So they go through that as well, and determine from those borings the length of pile. So that's really what it's for, is to get all of that done, develop a set of plans and the specifications that go along with it, and then present them. We work with them in that process, because there's things that we've learned that we want to stay away from, or maybe we want to do, because we've learned from the previous bridge or from the previous area. I mean, we get into the piling discussion quite often. There's different types of piles that you can choose to support the bridge. And with our experience and what we've seen, we know which ones work better in different areas of the county. So that's what, and then we have to put it together to actually go to the letting here at this office, once we've got it on. So, your question is, it's understandable. I mean, we could do most of this, and with Trent's experience with Farnsworth Group, I mean, I know that we could pretty much put a set together and get it out by the statutes completely.
We don't want to drill.
No. So, I would.
Questions? Other questions?
How many wood piling bridges we still got? More than 10? We'll just leave it there.
It's over 30, I believe.
Over 30?
So,
Okay.
we've made repairs to several of them, but we're
Okay.
still in that 30 range. We're whittling away at them.
Contingent on signature from the road commissioner, motion to move forward.
You want to do that and not do both of them together, or?
Just because we don't have a signature from a road commissioner yet, I would just assume do these separately. John, yes?
I'll make a motion to go forward with this grade.
Action item A has been moved by
Action item.
Yoder. Is there a second? Seconded by
Second.
Runyon. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, B, we had a letting last Tuesday for a backhoe, combination hoe here at the highway department, and Clay will let you know how that fell.
Okay, so we had, I think that's in the packet as well. Go ahead and scroll down to that bid tab.
I was going through a bad area when we were talking about it, and he said an $18,000 difference between the two, and I was kinda surprised with that.
Yeah, so we had a 2004 backhoe that we were using for a trade-in. We had a bid from Altorfer Cat, and we had a bid from Martin Equipment. So the Cat 430F IT 2019 model with John Deere 410L 2019 model. You can see the prices. Not a huge difference in the actual machine, but it was the trade-in allowance.
Do you have, to refresh our memories, the first two times we bid this out, what the figures were?
Yeah, we were around $75,000 when we started out with this, so it's cost us about $5,000.
And the difference you say is trade-in, because our equipment that we're trading in is getting older.
Yeah.
But the price of the new stuff is about the same.
This difference on the original bid was not very much at all.
2015 was what, a couple $100
It was
apart?
only a couple hundred.
2016 was 4,500, I think, as we were talking on the phone.
Yeah.
Well, the price of the new backhoe between the two of them are only a couple thousand. It's the trade-in, and where the difference is, there's, what, $16,000 trade-in. What they're gonna give us.
So this just goes to show a John Deere dealership thinks a John Deere trade-in value is higher than what a Cat thinks a John Deere trade-in value is.
Yeah,
We didn't,
This was our difference in, it was $90. Original, but it was.
Well, they were right there.
I guess I didn't realize we were at 77.5, so we weren't.
$90.
So we're only
$2,500.
$2,500 more, so.
And as you can see, John Deere is still giving us that $45,000 trade-in value with a 2-year-older machine, so.
Yeah.
So Cat decided not to.
Well, you look at the JCB,
They didn't bid.
I know we're on tape and everything, but maybe it's just, maybe that's how far John Deere marks up their stuff, so they can afford to give us a $16,000 bump in the
Well, but as
trade.
you can see, John Deere is still $18,750 less than what a Caterpillar is.
You mean bottom line?
The low
Yeah,
bid
bottom
is
line.
$80,000
Yeah.
compared to $98,750 from
Well,
Caterpillar.
John, when they go to resell with what we're trading in, it's gonna be easier for a John Deere dealership to sell a John Deere tractor than what it's gonna be for a Caterpillar.
Yeah, it's still
dealership
14
to
years
sell a
old.
John Deere tractor, so.
It's been a good machine, but it's time for it to be someone else's machine.
Agreed.
I can see a few thousand, but 16,000, that's, you know, that's
We got a good deal on the trade-in.
half, more than half again as much. You know.
With your agreement, can I take that as a motion? It's been moved by Runyon, is there a second by Lovell? Discussion?
I think we have.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Alrighty, that is
What
it
do you
for-
pay that out of,
County Highway Fund.
so you don't even have to
Well, this was our,
concern that with the budget or anything?
Not this year.
We're sitting on a $230,000 for equipment purchases,
So,
so,
I don't care, as long as we don't have to,
well, that 230, we'll have discussion about that later on.
we, this is our third go-around on this, so I had to
do
put
have
it
a-
on the back burner because of other issues that popped up, so.
I do have a question. You and I talked about something on this, and it had to do with whether this goes before county board or whether it can go through the committee.
I think it's,
Had it on the agenda, but do we wanna discuss that or not?
I mean, we can have a
as is.
discussion about it, but
Whether it's necessary or not. Some of the research that I've done, I don't know that the letting results for this backhoe has to go before the full county board for purchase of new equipment. It's not a contract, it's not something that we're signing or the board is signing, you don't sign anything for this, so.
What have
it's
we
not a
done in the
requirement.
previous, like when we,
We have
it
done
always
before.
has gone in front of the county board, but I think when you,
It's just kind of the question whether or not it's necessary, because it's in our budget, we've passed it, and we're having discussion, we can take a motion on whether or not we are approving it, as the committee. But but I just didn't know if it was necessary to push this through
I
the
think
full
we'll
committee.
run that by Randy.
I think, just my opinion, for informational purposes or nothing else, you know, so the other board members know what's going on.
Most certainly.
I mean, it's gonna,
In a sense,
I would-
it's already passed the
Because
county
we-
board because it was in the budget.
We have the
And the
two-
budget was passed
But
by
you
the
may be
full county
right, but
board, so in a sense,
it's gonna pass
it's
Randy.
already been passed, but.
The only time worded out.
Well, this is gonna be the same thing like with the truck.
yeah.
We've taken $120,000 out of the budget, correct?
Yeah, and I don't have it in this because it wasn't a bid.
Okay.
And I think we've always done it just with the bid items, we haven't necessarily done it when we made a purchase
Well,
on.
maybe maybe the whole board should be informed that I don't think it's an action item.
What we're discussing is the difference between an action item for the full board, or, I mean, it will be an information item regardless.
Right,
We will
right,
let the full
okay.
board, but we don't know if we need full board action, because what we're doing here is something that has already been approved by the full board as a $230,000 put into the county
Mhm.
highway
Right.
for purchase of equipment. So that's our question.
That sounds to me like those exact words are going to be in your report. So, I mean, that would satisfy me.
Yeah.
Well, and that's,
As long as
we
you-
are forwarding the minutes after the meeting goes to everyone, you know, all the board members see the minutes, and in the minutes, it will have a motion of what is being done,
But
so.
what I'm saying is at the board meeting
Yeah.
next Thursday night, you can say.
We will discuss that.
We have already approved this, the board has already approved it. We are just letting you know that we did pass this at the
Mhm.
committee meeting, and it doesn't need to go through the full board.
I'd
Does that
say-
sound okay?
I would say move forward that way, you know, and see if there's any county board member
And
that
we
gives
most
us.
certainly can have the discussion.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
gives
not a problem.
gives any static or blowback on it, and well, then we can address it again if we get any static about it.
Mr. Willer?
Bob, you mentioned about talking to Randy.
I feel a lot more comfortable,
Okay, so what I can do, if it's okay with
or
Randy.
even Alina.
I had already talked about it with Alina, and she didn't see anything, but she did not go through with Randy. She was relying on my experience as well, so, and I've researched it enough that I'm not sure that it's necessary, but
Okay.
I can run it by Randy.
He's an insurance guy, he's got lots of.
I always feel,
Yeah, Randy's very responsive, so it's no problem. And if Randy says it's okay, then just put it in the minutes, and Jason will talk about it at the board meeting, and we'll pull it as an action.
and he's usually pretty quick to give it in.
And here again, I mean, this is not an example of us trying to hide something, we're not hiding.
No, we're not, I realize
But
that.
it's a difference between does it need to be an action item or just informational
Yeah.
item to the full board?
I guess I'm trying to shorten maybe your board meetings, just so, or simplify them, because for things that maybe aren't absolutely necessary at the board meeting. I mean, that's all.
I'd rather have a longer board meeting and no more stuff than wonder.
Very good. All right, moving off of the county board action items, we're gonna move to 3 equipment and vehicle purchases. Clay?
So under equipment vehicle purchases, we have the Winnebago truck that we've talked about. I can't remember if we've shared everything on this since last month, that was right around that time frame, but I guess I've shared it with Jason. Winnebago is selling a 2015 Tandem with snowplow, wing plow, and spreader, and their price is $120,000, just like last year's. It's the exact same setup as what we purchased in 2017. We've had no repairs, and so we'd like to move forward with that. In fact, it's part of your bills, and as a check that will be cut on Friday or Monday, if we go ahead and make a motion to approve that.
$120,000 for a truck just like the one that same year even, correct? Same year,
How many miles?
with more miles.
What year was it?
22,015.
What year is it?
2015.
2015.
Just like the last one?
Just like the last one, just with more miles on it. Obviously, they kept it a year.
Basically a twin to it.
It's
Yeah,
a twin.
and it will
And
be.
then you're happy with
because
the one that we've got.
The one we have has exactly that many miles on it now,
How many, was it
22,000.
22,000?
And you're happy with the one that's already in our possession.
Everybody back there would rather climb in that truck than the other truck.
It's almost like a race to get to see who gets
that
to
one.
that truck first.
First one out the gate.
Yeah, it's kinda like where I work. If they
So now we can have heat races.
Well, it's not, but yeah, we could. But no, the only concern that we've got, in total transparency, it's got more miles on it than the last one that we had, but Travis had told me outside here that if we can continue to get these trucks from Winnebago, you know, we're buying a used truck, we're not spending brand new stuff, but we're getting good solid machines that have worked well, and the guys outside are happy, and when
In
happy.
2015, is there still a warranty on,
No.
no factory warranty on
Nope,
this?
just like the last one, there was no warranty,
Okay.
we get it as is. But $120,000, and I think Winnebago kinda is holding this back for us because we had such a good experience with the last one, we're gonna try another one.
Do we,
What was the bid for the last one?
120.
Was it 120, I thought?
It was exactly 120.
Okay.
do we take those somewhere and have them inspected then and checked out?
They do have already inspection stickers on them.
Well, I'm talking about transmission wise.
We send our guy up there to look at them, don't we?
We go up and look, but, yeah.
We have a
we
mechanic.
I mean,
don't-
these are
so
automatic
shop.
transmissions.
Basically, you look at probably maintenance records and stuff like that.
Yeah, he sends that. with
I mean,
him.
since there is no warranty on it, I concern, you know, a transmission for something like that, it's probably 17, 20, 25,000, I don't know, all that, my limited experience, all that stuff is expensive.
Yep.
Right.
Turbochargers and I assume it's turbocharged and everything, you know, all that stuff is
These are probably-
outrageously expensive.
Yeah.
It's got the new emissions on it too, it's got the data.
What is the price of a new one?
You're running.
200?
We're figuring 185 is kind of where we're seeing on this, the bids that we're
Okay.
taking right now.
On the Peterbilt trucks?
We don't know on Peterbilt.
See, that's just
We're
it,
pushing.
185 for,
It's probably 200.
We
Yeah.
don't know.
For international? Peterbilt's far superior to international.
Yeah, there's.
we,
Because we want you to hear, wouldn't wanna hear that.
I don't say it to anybody.
it makes you.
I drove those internationals for the city.
Especially
of
when we had a
Frederick.
$30,000 bill last winter to
That's
fix
my
one,
opinion.
so.
How do we do it?
$30,000 bill to fix one last year, so we need to continue
The
to.
international?
Yeah.
And what was that?
Engine.
The motor.
So are we going to then, if we get this, then we're gonna, get rid of one of the oldest internationals, I assume?
We're not sure if it's gonna be the oldest one or the one we've been having the most trouble with recently. We've had one that's, I think 4 years newer, it's a 2005. The other one's a 2001. But we've got less problems with the 01 right now than what we've got in the 05. We've had it towed 4 separate times. If Travis was here, he'd probably jump up on the table and start talking about it, because he's pretty livid with.
Well, you don't wanna be 1, 2 o'clock in the morning out plowing snow and have that thing break down.
Well, we had
The
paint
2005 needs to be someone else's problem, as
We had-
quick as we can.
Paint machine was in it this last time, and it was stuck over in
Yeah.
Forest. I mean, so we had to call Gray's, have them go over there, bring it here. They were here till 5 o'clock that night, pulling the paint machine out and putting it in another truck and getting it ready to go, because that's how we do the paint job.
That's always a fear you have, though, you know, you spend a lot of money on that truck. Maybe you got everything fixed, and those same things are gonna start happening. You don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no crystal ball.
Well,
It's
and
gonna
just
tell you that.
back in January, I was on my way down to a meeting, and we talked on the phone for 45 minutes on what to do with the truck that had the engine sitting out of it at Gray's, and we made the decision to replace it instead of putting a remand in, so I mean,
Hence my
it's,
question of inspection of the 2015, you know, you don't have a crystal ball.
yeah.
And the problem that we've seen is that the inspections may not tell you what's gonna
They
happen.
better tell you anyway.
It may tell you if there's a problem now.
Yeah,
Because
of
I'm-
course.
I'm actually a little more at ease on this one since we've already bought one from them and we've had good luck with it, so that kinda tells me that they're probably taking good care of me.
And it's very much worth Travis's trip up there to kind of check things over, because there was 2 available, and this is kind of the one that he says is the one that is gonna fit the best here for Livingston County, so.
Had the steering wheel on the correct side.
Are they then purchasing new ones? Did you get rid of the trucks that are only 2 years old or what?
They lease.
They're doing a 3-year lease option, that's a lease to own.
Oh, okay. I was trying to figure out why they're getting rid of just a 2-year-old vehicle when we're talking about a 2001 in our fleet, and
They have a lot better tax base.
So how many more how many more after this are we gonna buy?
As many as we can.
I was gonna say
8, I mean, 6.
One a year.
And then start over.
A year for how many years? I mean, how many trucks do we need?
We have 8
Oh, we do have 8, okay,
trucks.
So in
Okay.
8 years, it's time to start over again.
Yeah,
I'll be dead.
if we can keep picking along like that, why not?
Yeah.
I think it's a win-win for both county municipalities. And
Well,
we just-
they've gotta then take, well, they might take our money, but I mean, they've gotta pay their, at least purchase price off in order to sell us that truck.
Well, it's probably a money
They
deal with
own,
them.
I think they own the truck for a year before we get it. I think it's a 3-year lease and this is a 4-year-old truck, so is that not correct?
Sounds, I don't know exactly the
Yeah.
details behind that. You know, once, some of it I kinda studied, but then,
So do you need a
Sure.
motion?
It's actually in your bills, is it not in your?
You could do it through that, but I wouldn't mind the motion, but I don't know whether we wanna do all of these as one, because they're all 3 equipment purchases. But you've already done the one with the backhoe.
How about we lump them all together? We'll talk about the second one. Go ahead and move on off of it. Any other questions on the truck from Winnebago?
it was 120,000, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sounds good.
Okay. Next.
So you,
Jason Exley, I'm sorry, I wanna leave, Get- but I got one question that I've been asked. Waller hasn't asked it yet.
Oh, I know what it is. Can I guess?
Yeah,
How soon till the bridge north of, south of Dwight's done?
no, I don't have an answer.
school starts in a week.
They are working hard out there, aren't they, Steve? They're coming along fine, I think.
But I was gonna ask the same question, only because harvest is gonna be early.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you don't have any guesstimate at all?
I couldn't tell you for sure, because at the stage that they're in right now, they're just doing each piece and they just move on. So I'm gonna say a few weeks. If the weather holds up, there's a possibility, but I won't guarantee it, because we've got a sub that has to come in and do the actual paving. So it's gonna depend on their schedule too. So Reader's only in charge of what they can do. I mean, and then once the sub comes in, they gotta wait on their timing.
How much
It
time
could
do
be
we
open during before it's paved, couldn't it?
I would
Preferably
recommend
not.
not. Just
Preferably
because
not.
this has 4 3/4 inches of hot mix, so you'd have a bump at the bridge.
How much time did we lose because of the
Put
gas
rock
line?
there, but not for 800 cars a day. I mean, there's too many vehicles that go across that bridge. So,
How much time did we lose because of the gas line?
maybe a week, 10 days, I'm gonna say.
How far are we running the aprons out on that?
I don't know if you've been there, but as far out as the rock is right now, I mean, is that what you mean? It's
Yeah.
probably 300-400 feet on
Yeah,
each
it's
side.
quite a ways in.
It's a little.
So when people ask,
Conservatively, I would say a month, but I'm hoping it's with sooner.
As soon as feasibly possible.
when's harvest days?
Harvest days is
19th.
gonna be the 19th, 20th, 21st, and
Of September?
Yes,
September.
Well, I like to drive through that bridge for harvest days, so.
Okay.
That's why he's
If,
asking.
if you want, they could probably leave the clay road down there that you could drive on over the culverts. If you wanna cross it that bad.
No, I've had a couple people, because the school starts.
I know.
Right. You know, and I wish I had a better
Yeah.
answer for you, but I hate to commit to saying it's gonna be 2 weeks
Well, it won't be
or
done
3
for
weeks.
school to start, that's for sure.
No.
I didn't
That's
talk
a
to
week
Zach
before
today. You guys have been by there.
I was out there a week
Apparently they're
ago.
not working at night then.
So I know they have the roadway
Which would
tore
be
out,
Great Lakes.
and I don't know if they're yet putting the aggregate back
Like they are
down.
on Benton
I mean,
Park.
that usually takes a couple, 3 days, but then after they get it prepped and finally shaped, I mean, you got another couple days, and then you prime it, and you're ready for paving. So I think it's a minimum of 2 weeks, so,
You could drive over it now, though.
yeah, at your own risk.
Yeah, but you could.
You could. You know, and that's the thing, the problem becomes is the bump at the bridge though. I mean, and they don't have it while they're doing the construction, but I don't know that there's railing on the bridge yet. There's.
I'm not going to, like,
Okay. Because there will be other people following you if that's the case.
The concern is the amount of traffic that road, it needs to be completed in order for it to be open, because that's kind of an expressway for some folks, so.
No, tremendously.
Definitely. Road used a lot.
We'll definitely appreciate it when it's open, believe me.
I know that.
Every time now you gotta go back through town.
I'm gonna be more appreciative of the weight limit off of it is what I'm going to be with Harvest right around the corner, so
I don't wanna see you abusing it either.
I won't.
You haul stuff that way?
You promise, yeah.
No, positive.
I won't tell
Positive.
him what the load limit really is on it.
Okay.
Moving on to
It's gonna be a
vehicle purchase number 2,
$12,000.
That's a-
$12,000.
Bob's letting me go.
Yeah, I am, but that's okay, guys, thanks a lot.
Thanks, Ron.
Appreciate the
Bob.
See you in a little bit.
That admin, so.
So the last truck, or purchase is a pickup truck, and
Yeah.
we talked about
I
last
did.
month having a
Thank you.
pickup that's shot out there and needs a new engine in it basically. So we'd like to go ahead and almost round out our 230,000 line item on this and purchase a pickup off of state bid.
And what are we looking at there?
It's 25 to 27 is roughly where it'll be.
It'll actually put us a little over, won't it?
No, we'll be
80 and 120s to.
at 127,
So 227.
and we're
I
going
was
to
gonna say
230.
not.
Okay, okay.
220.
We're not the 205.
No, we're at 200 with 120,000 and 80,000, that's 200,000.
But we're budgeted for 230 this year.
Okay, you're saying 27, okay, yeah, we're still gonna be
And it'll
under.
be a what kind of vehicle?
Three-quarter ton for them?
It'll be a 3/4 ton.
Is that a cab and a half, extended cab?
No, it'll be, those guys
Quad
don't
cab?
use the extended cabs, it's just a regular cab.
Any nibbles on the one sitting out here? Cause that would go back in too, so what do
No,
we get out of that?
what we're gonna do is put it on another auction and have no minimum bid. We've had a couple more people come in and take it for a test drive, so we'll see if it.
Oh, it actually
has any
runs?
bites. Oh, it runs.
But they can only go,
We only let them go up to the health department.
you can't run to Weston to pick up anything and come back. You are just, it's just a short little run.
Just because we don't want it to where it won't drive.
So-
anywhere. So,
Tell me what vehicle you're purchasing. 2019
just pick up 3/4 ton.
Ford,
State bid is a Ford, yes.
so 2019 Ford F-250.
Yep.
Four-wheel drive?
That, I have to talk to Travis, I'm not 100% sure. We're gonna
And how much did you say?
It'll be 25 to 27.
Oh, it wouldn't be a four-wheel drive then, would it?
I would like to see them get a four-wheel drive,
Yeah,
but
enough
if
of
they,
that.
this one out here is not a four-wheel drive, correct?
It's not.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised, I think our last 4-wheel drive was right at 27,
And how long was that?
2 years ago.
Okay.
What's the breakdown between four-wheel drives and
I got
two-wheel drives
screwed on that
on our fleet out here?
Apparently.
We have, I couldn't answer that right offhand, I think we have
Yeah,
at least
that's-
2 or 3 4-wheel drive pickups back there right now, of the 3/4 tons. And then we have 9 pickups.
How often do we really have to get off, where we need a four-wheel drive? I mean, most of it's just running on the road, isn't it?
Yeah, most of the time. There are some occasions though, it comes
I-
in fuel trucks,
I-
we haul 2 fuel trucks around, so those 2 for sure, we like to have 4-wheel drive.
All that stuff.
And
The
then
extra
in the
one-
wintertime with snow, ice.
Well, that's true.
I mean, a four-wheel drive pickup truck, it's worth their money to go from a two-wheel drive to a four-wheel drive.
I thought it just lets you get in farther.
How,
I
So you
use
get
it, I
stuck.
use it to get out, not to get me in. I
how
use
many
it to
times
get
do we
out.
use a pickup
That's
truck
what
to
I've
actually
always
plow
done.
snow though?
You just get
We
in
don't
farther
use it to
before
plow,
it gets
we
stuck.
use them to haul fuel to the
Oh, haul
other
fuel,
trucks,
okay.
to the other trucks, cause we don't have all of them coming in to here to get fuel.
Yeah, you don't wanna have to drive all the way back in with a big plow truck. Just-
There's not a snow plow on the front of this bid truck. It's just a standard three-quarter ton truck.
It is something that we are considering
Yeah,
to
sure.
have on Travis's truck, just because there's been a few times, whether it's cleaning the lot or because he will come in and use the loader to
Mhm.
clean the lot.
Mhm.
So we have talked about putting a plow on. it.
Sure.
He's got a half ton right now, though, so we wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
So that's the other purchase that we were looking to make.
So that would wipe out our new equipment purchase line item, pretty much.
That gives us
It would
the-
complete our new.
I was gonna say, that gives us the option to use it to the fullest that we possibly can, yes.
It was our intentions
course.
to buy more stuff this year, I mean, because we haven't the last
Yes,
3 years.
definitely.
We
Well, as
held
I said,
off.
we put that tractor off, this is our third go around on it, due to circumstances that were.
The backhoe, yes, yes.
Yeah, we're still kind of playing catch up.
We will be playing catch up for a few years.
So I
I
think
don't
these
think we'll
are
ever catch up.
all steps.
No, we-
in the
Once you
right
start falling behind, it's hard to catch up.
Yeah. We are working at it.
So those are the ones, and that's where if you wanna combine all of that into
Yeah.
one motion.
Still motion from level on the equipment?
Yeah.
120 and state bid for a pickup truck?
Yep.
All right, is there a second? Seconded by Weller. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Preliminary budget FY19.
Okay, put that on the screen.
We approved that and sent that on last month, didn't we?
And I'm
And
gonna
if there
turn,
changes,
turn the meeting over to Diane, since she hasn't said anything the whole time. I'm just
There's
kidding.
nothing to say.
I'm just
Nothing to
kidding.
say?
Nothing to say.
So the numbers in red are the ones that have minor tweaks to them from last month. We only had a few changes here in the highway fund. After discussion with Diane, the total tax revenue from levy for highway, it was this amount, so it includes the mobile home tax as well as property tax. So the 550 needed to be pulled out of that number, is all that change is, to make a total of that.
Not a big change.
So that wasn't huge. Down below, this is just some consolidation of some line items and creation of one new one for highway. And I'll let Diane maybe speak to this office supplies. Just, that's the one that got added.
Since we're going to the new financial system, we're trying to get a lot of things streamlined. So if you buy office supplies, there's an account for office supplies. And I know lots of people like to call it something different, like mental health called it something different. But at the end of the day, it's office supplies. So really, there are a few things that he has in there, like the copy machine expense. Everyone treats that as an office supply. Every single department in our building treats it as an office supply. And there's no reason for that to not be and go in the same spot for everyone.
Sure.
So that's kind of what we were going for. So I know that it looks kind of funny now, but at the end of this year, and when we get the real budget line numbers, it'll all start looking and making more sense. But there's no reason for me to start adjusting those numbers right now on the left-hand side. And the same thing happened in our budget when we first switched to, and we just had to put next to things that it moved to this account or that we consolidated these into one other budget line. His bottom line is the same no matter what. Except in this case, I know you took out the
Yeah, I
equipment.
did something out there, I'll get to that. So, while Diane was wanting to add that to our list of items, I said, well, I'd like to take out a few then. So, because they were fairly small amounts, and the car, truck mileage, I wanna go ahead and put, because office supplies was being included in our miscellaneous. So I said, well, let's put the truck mileage and copy machine expenses now in office supplies, but then advertising is pretty small, move it down to miscellaneous. So that we eliminate 3 and create 1. So, but again, the total amount was 14, or not 14, I forget now what it was, that we added, had it written down. Yeah, basically $4,700 came from miscellaneous, and then added $1,500 for the copy machine to come up with that $6,200. So there was no net change in the overall amount from those items.
well, you got it up there real quick, and I know we've talked about this before, but I can't remember. I see you got the $115,000 for purchase new equipment line next year, and since we were just talking about that, I mean, what's your idea for next year, I mean, we're just getting done with this one, but you have something in your mind for that? Are we talking another truck from Winnebago? I mean, if it is, we just spent 120,000, that's only 115. If that's what you got in mind, I mean,
Okay, so this is the discussion. Last month I had 320 in there. The reason is that it had 205 that we were looking to get from the host agreement fund. It was our capital budget request. So we've been to finance, we've been to 2 different meetings, or 1 meeting, and then they had the meeting last night. And I'll let Jason speak as to how that went.
So back on the last day of July, we had a special meeting where department heads come, and any capital budget items that they wanted to put forth that hasn't been discussed yet, they come into the July meeting. Travis and Clay come and ask for $205,000 to help us with equipment purchases, and they come with $175,000 to replace the salt shed. So after much discussion last night at the meeting, the 205 currently is in, but they took the 175 out for the salt shed. But that is preliminary, that was just from finance committee. It's all gonna go forth to the full board, but that's kind of where we're currently sitting right now.
so the 205,000 would be an addition on top of this 115.
That's correct. Yeah. So that would get us up to $320,000.
So, and within that, the purchases that we were looking at, your question, Mark, was a new tandem, or possibly used, again, is what we're hoping. If we go used, we will go with the used tandem, we'll go with a tractor and mower to replace that. It's $110,000, I know those are hard to read. And then we'll go with 2 pickups if we go with this used tandem. So, we've got 50,000, 110, and then as much as, or the 130, so 235, 50, and make sure I'm doing that right. It might be around, it says 290 to 320, so if we were able to get to the used, we'll spend a little less.
Would you say, Jason, with that capital,
205,000
205 is what was approved, is
with,
what is tentatively approved?
and
Yeah,
it's moving through.
yeah.
It's moving through for the full board, coming from finance last night. And then the 115 that we're budgeting here for a total of 320.
Okay.
So if we get a used truck at 130, we get tractor and mower at 110, we're looking at 240. We've got 80 to work with. We're hoping to upgrade 2 pickup trucks and then just kind of see how things play out.
Okay.
The reason
Well, again,
between the 290 and the 320 is if it has to go to a new tandem versus a used one. We'll have to back off a pickup and go to a new tandem, plus the mower tractor.
Well, we were just talking about trying to keep up and trying to catch up, I mean.
Well, and that's why Winnebago has been a godsend for us,
Really?
because we've been able to buy some used equipment, and then we can kind of focus some of our money on other.
On other things that
Other
we really need and need to be updated.
So the change from last month is pulling out, this was at 320, but it's pulling the 205 out, and we've had some discussion about that, and I guess I feel better about that amount being paid directly to the vendors, and we'll split it out as to, from the other fund rather than depositing into our fund and showing it as a receipt. So that's how we handled the bridge a few years ago, is we just sent bills up to Alina and then she processed it through Barbie.
Well, hopefully we won't have that happen again. Hope-
No, but I'm saying that's how we'll handle it for the truck or one of the purchases. So,
Everything remains fluid.
yep. So that was the only changes from last month, so I don't know if there's any questions or any reason to go forward otherwise, but,
And no motion for this is just information, or would you
We
like a
already had
motion?
the motion.
the only
last
thing
month.
we ever do is we still, any revisions, we do say, just to have the motion
Sure.
there in committee that, we're forwarding this as our budget to the finance.
So since there's been a revision since our last one, I guess we will take a motion.
I'll make the motion to
Been moved by
run the
Ruben.
revisions.
Is there a second? Second by Yoder. Discussion?
Yeah, I noticed if I'm seeing it right, the health insurance premium is up. We might be able to go lower. Are we short some people that we might have used to have had, or what?
One of the big changes is the county board's decision to fund it with less percentage.
Okay, employees are picking up a bigger percentage?
Yes.
Okay, that would make a difference, thank you.
Moving on.
Quickly?
Fine by me?
I do have maybe I asked this a year ago, but, what kind of advertising do we do?
We have lettings that we have to advertise for, I mean, so. every
Oh, it's
time-
not advertising like,
County Highway Department.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we have. a
Just
Facebook
advertising with the committee members and their phone numbers during the winter months if there's anybody calling to complain
Or
about
if
something.
we wanna sell a used truck.
Oh, okay, I understand.
So the advertising for this pickup truck that we sent last month has been a complete waste of money because the truck is currently still there, so.
I wish you'd move it, because I always think somebody's there to pick me up speeding.
Well, that's a good reason for us to.
You can take it home.
We're gonna turn it and we're gonna put a welcome to
Slow down
Pontiac
spot.
sign.
Your name would look good on the side of that truck. You can move it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. I don't think we voted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving on to any other items that come before the committee?
I've got one.
Of course you do.
I cannot bring this one up, I don't really want to. We have a bridge, and this is why this was in Charlotte Township to start with.
Can't you bring up items that are a little cheaper? Set up bridges and things like that?
Well, I could, but it's not part of this office, unfortunately. Okay, so, and I don't know that I've really briefed Jason on this too much, so I apologize on, because it's a pretty recent development. Charlotte Township, so here's Charlotte, County Highway runs west out of Charlotte, here's the jog, goes straight south of the jog. And we have a highway commissioner, Bill Indries, is the Charlotte Township Highway Commissioner, he lives right here. We have a stream that parallels, comes over and parallels this road.
Who designed that?
And the stream has a fairly large opening to it with a timber piled bridge with timber caps on it that are shot completely with the piling and the cap. So we have a concern now that's been brought to us by a highway commissioner on his own township road as to what are we going to do with this bridge essentially. So difficult because it's a difficult one to determine. Right of way is probably gonna be set at around 28 and a half feet. It's 57 foot
Is
right of
that,
way.
is that a township road that's over, or is that his driveway that's over with?
That's his driveway,
That's his driveway that's over with.
yes.
Oh.
That's his personal
Oh,
driveway?
that's his driveway, so why are we concerned with it?
But the creek.
Zoom back out.
That's why I asked,
So approximate right-of-way line would be here typically on that, which makes the bridge be further off than that. So if you zoom back out,
Oh, I see that.
this is his property, this is his drive, the channel paralleling, and a right-of-way that could be easily,
You can go off of that, can't you?
yeah, I can't, if I can get this thing.
Even if you were to go to the field.
Just kind of using a parallel line, and you can see that the bridge is probably off of the right-of-way line.
Right.
But, with that said, we have some precedent that's there. In 2005, we passed a resolution, or a petition through the county board, and it was to replace the planking. It was a $2,000 or $3,000 cost to do that. Ron Dini brought that before the county board at that time.
On this same,
On this same bridge.
That bridge, that very bridge.
So we replaced the planking, And in also, and I actually, David was very helpful with this, because I called him and I said, do you remember why we did that? And he said, no, but he goes, take a look at, there's a petitions book, and there is in our vault, and it goes back into the 50s and 60s. So I went back through and looked at that, and by golly, there's a petition in 1959 through the county board to do a repair on this bridge. Then it says repair for $5,000, which was a lot of money back in 1959. So we're thinking maybe that's when most of this bridge was built. Bill Endries, who has lived there his whole life, was 3 years old at the time, and he remembers having to walk across the place on this bridge when his dad owned the place at the time. So
Uphill both ways.
he remembers it because they had a new car. He's got the story behind it, but he does have memory of this, 3 or 4 years old, of this bridge being basically out and being replaced and its timing is about right to this petition.
Okay, so back in 1959, we built them a new bridge.
That's what we're kind of
It
coming
was one of those
to.
old $5,000 specials.
But I don't know. I mean, this doesn't say replace, this says repair. But again, I told you earlier, we've got the same, well, I don't know if you were here with the Sunbury discussion, they're trying to do the same thing with that petition. It was a repair petition that now we're doing a replacement with. Sometimes that's what you end up doing, is you start out wanting to repair it, and you go, well, we can't, we gotta replace it. So, there is looking like there's some evidence that we have participated in this before. All right, with all of that said, I also have asked Randy the question on this, whether it is the county's duty or the township's duty to replace this bridge if it is off of right-of-way. And he said we could go to the extent of making the township prove that we need to participate with it, that it is on right-of-way, that there is, and he said just because there's precedent doesn't necessarily mean that we would have to if the statutes don't support that.
And it just happens to be the township road,
It
But it
happens to
wouldn't-
be the highway commission.
which is the worst part.
But what
Would
you,
have to be him.
you said, I can't remember exactly what you said about talking to Randy, but whether the township or not would participate, is that what you said?
Whether the county would have to participate.
You said township.
No, county and township.
Okay, because I wondered, why would the township participate in it, you know, if it's his personal driveway?
There is statute that says that once a structure is built by, because the first time when, say if you were building a house here and you're the township, you can force the landowner to put the first bridge in. That is a requirement in the statutes, but once it's built, it becomes the property of the jurisdiction of the roadway.
Which in this case is his personal.
Well, the jurisdiction of that roadway is in.
Is him.
That's where it gets
That's what I'm
sticky.
saying.
So then the question becomes is why has there been a petition that replaced the bridge? that the county
Because
board-
someone in 1959 got themselves a sweetheart deal.
Yes,
They did.
yes, they did.
I was not on the board in 19.
Realizing we're being videotaped and all, someone was a genius back in 1959
It's
to
the
get,
truth. It's on the paper, so-
to get the county to pay for it.
Is
Was his
there
dad
names
the
on
road
there?
commissioner too?
What's that?
Was his dad the road commissioner too?
Yeah, that I don't know. I couldn't tell. Well, let's see.
Or is
Commissioner of
Brent-
Highways was Oliver Frick.
Who? But there,
Oliver Frick.
but there would be. I mean that.
The road there that runs parallel to the yellow line, is that a township road or is that a county road?
No, it's a township.
It's a township road.
But the county is required to participate if the township petitions us for aid and there's sufficient funds available. So that's where it becomes difficult on denial for this.
It's
There is-
just-
It's really no different than a township bridge getting replaced that we're in on.
So, except it's not over a township road, it's over a private.
It's over a private lane.
This is where it gets so sticky. I mean, as to whether or not there's enough precedent that's been set, the court would actually rule that you still have to go participate. It's become part of, in every other situation, if you had this along your township road, you would own the culvert or a bridge.
And what'd you say Randy said about this?
That we could put the onus on the township to prove to the county that this is a structure that we need to participate in.
Good. Because if we go along with this and we participate in it, then we have prolonged.
Yes.
We've said then we have set precedent.
And we, the guys that are coming in here 20, 30, 40 years behind us are going through the same problem.
But I can also see what kind of precedent does that set for the next guy down the road that has a bridge just like that?
Oh, he's got
He says, well,
something to hang his hat on.
you built that guy a bridge.
You did it for him, why don't you do it for us?
Gives them more ammunition, obviously.
That's what I'm saying, I think you need to resist all you can here. This is just my opinion, and I'm no lawyer or legal.
Now, is he trying to get he'd have to get township fund, he'd have to get it through the township also, right?
Correct.
Let's see
So
what
he's
happens
gotta
with
sell
this
that to
board.
the members of his own township.
So where this also goes,
Replace it until we participate.
where this also goes is in the design process. Because in the end, if you're doing this as a landowner or an individual, you might be able to get away with a different design than if you're going to do it as a highway project.
If it's private property going to a private residence, how would they have to have engineering involved? Why would
They
you?
wouldn't.
That's exactly it, so
So if it becomes a township or county and or county project.
it would have to
it
go
does have
through
to
that
go
whole
through.
entire
I was gonna say,
engineering
yes.
process.
We can turn a small project into a very large project by this
A
being.
fairly expensive project.
And a very
Yeah.
expensive project.
Why don't we
we've already-
check on the price tag of an old flatbed rail car?
Well, and that's been one that's been brought up. Also, it's been brought up that we're replacing a
Would a
bridge.
would a 10-foot railroad tanker suffice?
No.
No.
You'd almost have to use a flatbed car.
We're
Are you-
replacing, in Chatsworth Township, we have a bridge that we're replacing 3375.
What road is that on, Clay? You know?
So it would be
So
on
3100
it would be on
deadline.
3100.
The one that,
3100 north?
3100
East, I mean,
yeah, east, it's
Then-
just south of the
It's
Charlotte
just,
Blacktop.
it's just south of the curve at Charlotte Blacktop.
okay.
And then it's probably 1120 north. And if you, in next year, we will be replacing the deck beam, or the deck, all of the structure for 3375. This bridge happens to have about 32-foot pre-stressed beams on it that aren't actually in too bad of shape. If you took the beams off of this bridge and set them on a footing pad at that entrance, you'd have a nice bridge for an entrance bridge. We couldn't do that as a DOT project because of the requirements, that it would have to have the loading requirements, it would have to have the piling driven.
Engineering.
Everything would have to be certified. But as a,
It's 3225.
3375 is the structure number.
No, I meant the address,
400 north and, yeah, about 3250, I think is what it is east. So that's one option we've talked about. The flatbed rail car idea is another one, as cheap options.
Can we break from this discussion? Can I have a motion to pay bills?
Motion to pay bills.
Been moved by Lovell, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Runyon. Lovell, Runyon on bills, so I get started. In the interest of time and 5 o'clock admin.
Aye.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, back to it, sorry.
Yep. No, I don't really have much more. Right now, I'm just trying to
Are we in
figure
the
out-
conversation state?
We're still in conversation, we're still in discussion with Bill Endries on even possible solutions for this.
What kind of word have you gotten from his township board?
That, he hasn't gotten that far yet. He may